Anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. See also Navii.
Hello.
Hello listeners, and welcome to episode 1 of our podcast Dice Scrolls, where a D&D player and her DM discuss the experiences of playing tabletop RPGs together.
My name is Maxi, and I'm the show's dungeon master, as well as a pet-obsessed ranger. And this is my co-host, player, and anxious little chihuahua who I keep in my bag of holding, Navii.
Hello again.
So, Navii, what is today's topic?
Anxiety at the D&D table.
Yes, as promised in our previous episode where we went through all the different topics that we had planned, we want to start off with anxiety and how to deal with it. Well, not general anxiety, just specifically anxiety whilst playing Dungeons & Dragons or any RPGs, because it's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen.
And also, we're not medical doctors, so we can't give that advice.
Yeah, no, don't listen to us at all if, you wanted actual help with coping with anxiety and stuff.
I can't even cope with it, so I can't even help you.
Which is why you're such a great subject for this particular episode, and I look forward to what you have to say.
Thank you.
She's just an anxious wreck.
I am. Or look, I sound like I'm holding it together.
Yeah, this is going to be a real test to our friendship. So, let's see if within the hour that this is going to run for, we're still friends by the end of it.
Don't say that. I've had dreams where we're no longer friends because I decided not to get changed.
See what I mean?
Pajamas.
See why she is so anxious.
You were just
You've never honestly told me that you've had dreams about us not being friends. Oh my god.
What? I wanted to keep it a secret because I didn't know how you would react.
I'm devastated.
I'm sorry.
I'm truly devastated. I thought, oh no, I've caused you this anxiety.
No, it's just my anxiety causing anxiety.
It's true. God, is this kind of like when you have a dream about your partner cheating on you and you get angry at them, when you wake
in real
up?
life, but it's like they haven't done anything.
Yeah, do you, wake up after a dream when we're no longer friends and need to check in on me?
Yes. The first time it happened, I went on Discord to make sure it wasn't gonna happen.
Oh no. Listeners, by the way, this is not scripted in any way. This is most having a genuine crisis right now.
I'm actually confessing.
Oh, wow. Let's talk about anxiety at the D&D table. Well, what do we mean about anxiety at the table?
Basically, if you're, uncomfortable with, socializing with people you rarely known or, talk to, or, situations that arise.
I think it's important to address the fact that there are different forms of anxiety.
There are.
So, that was actually a really good one that you brought up there of, you not really knowing the other people. The other players. We actually take that for granted, I think, because as me being the DM and Navii being my player, I got to choose my friend group to run my D&D campaign with, and they were all people that I knew and that I knew the playstyle of, and so I had no anxiety whatsoever running for these particular people because I knew who they were. Whereas Navii, you probably have a very different experience of because you met a lot of those people for the first time in that first session.
Yeah. A lot of the time, it's more of, are these people going to think I'm funny? And if they're gonna like me.
Not to say that Navi's worries are completely unfounded. Part of addressing anxiety as a DM is acknowledging that your player's anxiety is valid. even if it's irrational, you can't invalidate that. You need to, like, take what people are saying seriously and, like, treat them with the respect that they deserve and address the anxiety of your players to fix whatever it is that they're having anxiety over.
Yeah.
I think a good example of this is that with role-playing anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So, Navii, we've had our ups and downs about how nervous and anxious you get in particular about a scene getting, as you often say to me, fucked up.
Yeah.
And often when this happens, I end up, like, telling Navii that it's fine, you didn't fuck up anything. These are all things that I can work with.
For example, take my first thing I did as a player in Your World of Cyrus is because we destroyed the execution ground where I was panicking like, oh god, they're gonna know we're here. So I left a note saying, I'm the Emperor's ancestor's ghost and I destroyed it.
Which, I want you all to know, is the most nonsense thing that Navii has ever done. But also, I accept this. Like, this is fine. This is ridiculous, and it's fine. But Navii spoke to me afterwards and was, like, really, really, like, worked up about it, and, like, oh god, I've made a terrible mistake of leaving that note. It was such an idiotic move, and I was just like, hey, relax. It was funny. It was very, very funny, and it's something that could potentially come up later on.
I hope so.
I haven't made any, like, immediate plans yet.
Yeah, I remember I know when a scene is good, when I hear, god damn it, Navii.
Truly, it's, like, quite impossible to completely fuck up a scene.
Unless you go completely off the rail.
Yeah, but that's, like, I think that's, like, more about player sabotage than, like, generally bumbling through a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually another good example. If we're bumbling through a bunch of things, one of the main things about anxiety at the table is bad rolls.
Oh my god.
Now, if you have a night of really, really bad dice rolls, then that can ruin your entire night. Not only that, but then you end up feeling as though you are letting everyone down.
Yeah.
I've had, like, my fair share of bad dice rolls, both as a player and in my capacity as a dungeon master, which, like, makes the game kind of unfun for me when I'm just like, oh god, this incredibly cool monster is doing terribly. And the party are just steamrolling it.
Like that nat 1 on a laser attack?
I was furious. I was absolutely furious. Like, I was laughing, Navii, but it was a laugh of pain.
It was a laugh of anger.
Yeah, it was, for context, I had set up a really cool fight between a flying pirate ship and a giant sky crab that, the party was, like, engaged in this epic battle with it, and for, like, 3 rounds, I had the crab's action be charging its laser, and when it finally came time to, like, shoot my shot, I rolled a nat 1. So, the DM did not have a good night that night.
No.
Because when you... Other DMs will sympathize with me. When you spend 3 rounds just not doing anything as an enemy to charge something up which is supposed to do a lethal amount of damage to a flying skyship and really wreck the player's shit when it completely misses like that, boy, is it suddenly a bad night.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that was not an experience that gave me anxiety.
No.
That was just like, yeah, whatever. I feel, as a player, having bad dice rolls is far more anxious, because loads of other people are depending on you and your actions. If you are the only one who can do a thing, and you are consistently failing at that thing in character, then you've essentially, like, let down the whole party for something that isn't even your fault.
That's how I feel about enemies' armor classes. Like, when I can't hit it, because my roll is low.
I don't think you actually do too bad in hitting enemies. I would say Beth is the unluckiest player,
Yeah.
dice rolling.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, actually causes Beth any anxiety. Beth certainly doesn't act as though it does.
It causes me anxiety. I think, oh god, she's not gonna have a fun time.
Yeah, I think that's also, another good example you brought up there, Navii, of empathy. You can have anxiety because you are worried about the other players not having a good time.
I just care too much.
As a DM as well, that is also something that, the DM will get really, really anxious about. They see a player having just an incredibly bad time with the dice rolls and stuff. They're like, this is gonna seriously impact their enjoyment of my game, and I want them to enjoy themselves while they're here.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, D&D is actually a medicine for daily anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about anxiety at the table, but also, D&D will help relieve a lot of people's anxiety by just playing it.
Yeah.
And if they're having a bad time due to bad dice rolls or content which is a bit too close to home, then they're not getting what they want out of D&D.
No.
They're not getting, the fun, or, in some cases, the relief and escape from just the pressures of everyday life. What else can we say? What other forms of anxiety are there? Oh yeah, game mechanics. Anxiety over understanding them.
Yeah.
Navii, what's been your experience?
Well, they've been terrible. I'll admit, I have cried over not knowing when you get something, when it says 4th level, doesn't mean you get it at level 4. What it means is that this is a spell you'll get at level 7.
It does.
Yeah.
And I remember that incident, and I was like, oh, Navii.
Yeah.
No, don't be sad.
I know.
I would say that it is kind of jarring to be told that, your understanding of a thing is wrong.
Yeah.
And if you were convinced of, how many attacks you had, for instance, or, what spells you could cast at what level, and you're told that, no, you've worked that out wrong, you're like, oh, what else have I done wrong for this character?
Yeah.
Am I even doing it right?
But yeah, it's to the point where I've actually given up on spells. I'm so anxious. For Meg, I should have a lot of ranger spells light up, so I should have 7.
Mm-hmm.
I still only have 4.
So, here's the thing with, ignoring your spell list. You can do that, fine, but you're doing it because you're anxious about it.
Yes.
So, how do we resolve that?
I get help.
Exactly. I would say either myself, as your DM, should, be working through you, working with you through it.
Working through you. You must
Work.
body.
I mean, it seems as though that must be what happens. I have to possess you, Navii, in order for you to be able to correctly pick a non-anxious loadout of spells.
Yeah.
But you could also, ask mutual friends of ours who are big D&D nerds for their assistance and guidance. Shout out to Ben. Ben is one of the best people that I know when it comes to balance and mechanics. And Ryan as well, but you don't really, talk to Ryan at all.
No.
But both of them are very, very good at, understanding this sort of thing. And both of them have picked classes in the past that do a lot of magic work.
Yeah.
So talking to them would be incredibly beneficial, even if they literally just have to pick your spell list for you. That might need to be what has to be done.
Yeah.
If,
Maybe I'll have Ben go pick my spell. Because if I have you, well, you might show bias. You'd be like, no, I'm going to give Navii this spell because she's awesome.
I won't show bias. I'll treat you with the same contempt that I have for all of my players.
Then would you do me the honor of writing my spell list?
Okay. I'll, throw together a bunch of stuff, then throw it at you.
Yeah.
And then just be like, here, learn them. Get out of my sight.
Back to the topic at hand.
How about in-character anxiety? I think it's definitely trying to get the feel of your own character, which can cause you a lot of anxiety. As a DM, I am many characters.
You are.
I am all of the other characters that my 4 players have to interact with, and all of their voices and unique personality traits, the things that I've done to make them not bland and one-dimensional. And after sessions, I will admit there are moments in which I think about something that an NPC did or said and go I didn't like that specific thing that they said.
Yeah.
Or I didn't like how I don't like how I showcased something that they did. Because, you generally can't control, how people feel about your characters.
No.
And especially when you're the DM, even if, you particularly like or you understand the motivations behind a character that you've created and know what their deal is and know why they act the way that they do, that if the party don't take a shine to them because they have, spent, about 5 minutes in their presence and felt that they were a terrible person, then no matter how anxious you get about that situation afterwards, there is nothing that you can do about that unless, for the next session, you expand on that character a bit more. But don't do it for the sake of detracting away from the things that the party want to do. Because, at the end of the day, this is their story and not yours. You're working all together with one another, DM and players, to create an interesting story, and you rely on what your players want to do, not what you want to do.
But do you have examples of DM characters you have anxiety for?
I think you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, in the last session, I introduced a character who would be important for Navii's backstory, called Madame Wang.
Yeah.
Madame Wang is the mother of Ameli's fiancé. And Amelie and Alphen's relationship occurred under a lot of scrutiny, and also it is illegal.
Yeah.
They actually should not be together legally due to the fact that there was a huge war that there have been many wars between both of their races, and it's severely impacted the relationships that both of these races have with each other, even throughout peacetime. And in the last war, there was a treaty that stipulated that no Sangramore was to ever bite a Twilight Elf. To do so would be a violation of the treaty. And to do so would basically result in trial and whatever punishment awaited them. It was a serious crime because the last thing that either of these two races wanted was to be plunged back into war again with each other.
No.
And Alphen, who was a Sangramore, and Navii's character, Amelie, who was a Twilight Elf, fell in love with each other. And customarily in Alphen's culture, when you have the intent to be with someone romantically, you lay your bite upon their neck. So, Sangramore, kind of like Dampiers. They are vampire-like humans who are not undead, and they live a long time, but they can still age and die, and they require not so much blood to live, but rather the magic that is within the blood of all races. They drink that specifically, so they need to drink the blood.
Yeah.
So he didn't drink from Amelie. He just bit her. Yeah. And this was exposed by enemies of the Wang family because there's a lot of inner social politics going on in the Mian dynasty, in which many of the different clans and high-ranking families will backstab and screw one another over. And one in particular is really got it out for the Wang family.
Yeah.
And the young lovers were completely exposed. and Alphen is in prison awaiting trial and execution, and Amelie was exiled, and from like both the Mian dynasty and her own people.
Yeah.
So it's your character plot story to rescue the man that you love from prison.
Mm-hmm.
And you've gotten back to the Mian dynasty, and you decided that you would go and dock in the port town that the Wang family had control over. Like, that was their region. And then you find out that Wang Guang he's not faring very well. That's Alphen's father. He's like fallen quite ill, and that the docks have been shut down by order of the emperor for basically Sangramore trade and citizenry.
Yep.
So like this is a huge punishment to the Wang family of like making it impossible for one of like their biggest contributions economically to the dynasty to be like completely ruined. It's also like basically through this very spiteful action put a lot of pressure on the other ports who now like have an influx of people who would ordinarily go through to through the Wang territory instead.
Yeah.
In any case, it's just basically designed to like punish and humiliate the family. So Amelie decided that she had to go and see the Wang family. She had to like immediately check in on his lordship, and she was denied an audience with his lordship by Madame Wang, who wanted to speak to Amelie. And I really like Madame Wang as a character.
Yeah.
She was someone I was very excited to bring into the picture. I rarely get to play characters who are antagonistic towards the party in a manner that isn't outright villains.
No.
So when presented with this opportunity of like introducing Madame Wang to Amelie, from her perspective, I thought to myself that like, okay, because of this young woman, I have lost my eldest son. My husband is dying of grief. Our family reputation is in ruins. We have been humiliated and backstabbed. And if I object to any of this and make a scene about it, it would continue to reflect poorly on the reputation of my family, and we will fall further into disgrace. Mm-hmm. All because my son fell in love with a woman that he should never have fallen in love with. So naturally, she was angry.
It's the reasonable reaction, to be honest.
So even if you say it's reasonable, and yes, like, there's nothing wrong with being angry at someone, especially like Madame Wang's anger comes from a place in which she is rendered virtually powerless to protect the people that she loves.
Yeah.
So the confrontation in the reception area of the Wang estate was frosty and aggressive, and the entire time I was very, very aware that the other players were like, oh my god, this woman. And like I was genuinely quite worried by the end of the session that like I had portrayed her in such a way that it came across that she was abusive.
Yeah.
Which like wasn't the case at all. She's upset. She's an angry woman who loves her family and cares about them deeply and is in like this really terrible situation where she can't protect the people she loves, and that's what's hurting her most of all. She can't protect anyone she loves. And I was like, should I have subdued her anger more? Did I like go too hard in on her being aggressive towards Amelie? Upon reflection, I don't think I was.
No.
Like, you weren't in any way violently assaulted by this woman.
No.
Nor did she actually verbally insult you.
She did not.
She didn't call you, like, any horrible derogatory names or anything like that. Mm-hmm. She was just furious and cold.
And she just wanted answers that hopefully I could have provided.
Well, because this was, like, just an anxious thing for me personally, after the session was over, I thought to myself, like, well, I'm gonna, in the future, give a bit more opportunity to expand on why, like, Madame Wang would react as badly as she did. By, like, casting her in a bit more of a sympathetic light.
Yeah, which is at the end of the day, that's all you really can do.
But I'm also, like, very aware that, well, obviously you will have to interact with this character a fair amount.
Yeah.
But learning more about her is something that is down to the players, and not me to push onto them.
I mean, I'm full on, like, learning more about her, because if I succeed in, like, saving my boyfriend, I don't want to have a negative relationship with this woman.
So, resolutions and solutions of how to minimize anxiety. Talk.
Yeah.
Literally, like, talk it out is the best way that I can think about it. Like, talk with people who aren't even involved in your game. Like, if this is something that you feel as though if you brought it up to the people who you're in the group with, they would dismiss it or not understand it or not address it properly, then just vent about it to people who are willing to listen to you, because that helps. Believe me, you feel tons better. Do you have an example? I have loads.
I know. I've vented a bunch of times to you. I've vented a bunch of times to Ben.
So it's unavoidable that, like, when you have anxiety in the game that you just really do not want to bring up with, like, the other players and stuff.
No.
Just bring it up with your friends who are outside of the game. Maybe as well, people who aren't involved in the game can offer up insights and solutions.
Yeah. Sometimes if my coworker from work brings it up, I'll tell him about, like, D&D sessions.
Yeah, it's good to talk about it. What other resolutions can we find aside from just talking to strangers? Like, obviously we cited talking to your DM about it.
Mm-hmm.
Talking with your DM is, I would say, part and parcel of working with your DM to maximize your enjoyment to reduce the anxiety, because most times out of 10, the DM wants you to have fun in their setting, and you come to them with a problem about, like, just how you felt about a certain session. They'll usually hear you out and, like, talk you through it. Reassuring as well. That's a lot of our conversations in which you come to me and you're just like, I didn't feel good about a thing that Amelie did. And I was just like, well, I can tell you that, one, it doesn't ruin my game. And two, it seemed very in character for Amelie to do that thing. And three, stop worrying so much. So, I think we also really need to get into the harder topics of anxiety at your D&D table. For instance, no matter what I've been saying to Navii this entire time, in terms of you treat RPG anxiety with reassurance and with talking things out, there's also a major thing about accepting that sometimes the anxiety will just never go away.
No.
Or even if one form of it disappears, a new form of it will come up.
Yeah.
There's always something else to be anxious about, especially in a collaborative group effort in which you're all people of very different opinions and you're all playing often very, very different characters that could put you at odds with one another. And if you don't like that as a player, it's going to cause you a lot of anxiety. And sometimes there's nothing that you can actually do about it.
No.
Other than accept that it's just always going to be there. You're always going to second guess yourself as a player or as a DM. As a DM, I am very confident in my ability, but literally every time I'm about to run a session, I have, like, anxiety and jitters about how good the session's going to be and if everyone's going to enjoy it. And sometimes I'll finish a session and just be like, that was a great session. I felt as though everyone was really happy about it. I was so stupid for being anxious about it. Ridiculous. I know what I'm doing as a DM. I'm fine. And then there are other sessions in which I'm just like, I need to fix everything I just did.
I need to do a complete overhaul.
And I have to, like, go to sleep to stop myself from just retconning everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not the player's fault. It's me and, like, how I felt NPCs interacted with someone, or also, like, mechanical choices that I made, things that I, like, might have fucked up behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I pretty much stated all the things that make me anxious. Like, I know I can, like, work through my anxiety, but it's, like, always gonna be in the back of my mind that's gonna, like, make shit up.
Mm-hmm. So, with that said, there's accepting anxiety will never go away. But there's also understanding the difference between your general anxiety within a game of second guessing yourself and your role playing or your character's actions or how you're interacting with the game mechanics. These are all like things that are ultimately yours to control. These are things that are associated with you as a person. So there's that kind of anxiety. And then there's the anxiety of being in your D&D group with the people that you're playing with.
Yeah.
And that's not anxiety. That's... Well, it is. It evokes the same feelings of anxiety, of, like, being worried about, like, being with these people and stuff like that. But that is, like, discomfort in the presence of your D&D group. Mm-hmm. And that generally is not acceptable. You should never feel as though within your D&D group unhappy to be there and anxious to be there. If you are, and it is because of the players or the mood of the game or something that the DM does, you can leave. There is no shame whatsoever in walking away or turning off the Discord or however you're playing D&D or any RPG to just be like, you know what, it's not worth it.
No.
I can find a new group. And you can!
I found a new group and I found better.
Yeah, because we had problems with the old group. And I remember as a DM, it made me actually quite unhappy to run that game. I know what I'm talking about here when I said that you don't have to put up with the anxiety of being in a D&D group or running a D&D group, which is just causing you stress and anxiety from just the actions of the players. Mm-hmm. And there's no shame in dropping the game, in dissolving the party, in walking away from the group. Deciding to put your own mental health first should be your primary concern.
Yeah.
We play D&D, we play RPGs for fun. Mm-hmm. They're games. Games are supposed to be fun.
They are.
If that's not what you're getting out of it, if you're just slogging through it as more of an obligation at that point, and it's just making you far too nervous to be a participant, walk away. Mm-hmm. Absolutely leave. And don't feel like you owe people an explanation for that.
No.
Like, if it's a fixable issue, if whatever it is that's causing you anxiety is something that could be very, very easily talked about, by all means, do that first. If that's what you want, if you, like, want to continue playing something because you really enjoy it, and it's just, like, this one little thing that you just can't get over that's, like, spoiling the enjoyment and causing you anxiety, address it. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get the result that you want, you've done all you can.
Yeah.
You've absolutely done all of you can, and you can just leave.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say about this, Navii? I don't think you really have a lot of experience with this yourself.
No, but I've thought about it, but was never really gonna go through with it.
I think because at the time you were talking to me a lot about it, and I was already expressing, like, an unhappiness with the situation as well.
Yeah.
How many of us, like, actually carried over from the old game into, like, the new campaign?
Me.
Yeah, you and Matt, to be fair.
Well, yeah.
I'm just like, I can't keep playing this.
Mhm.
It's too stressful.
Yeah.
But, we've set up a new group.
Yeah.
I think as well, as a DM, the failure of the first group in which I took the decision to dissolve it, and I stand by my decision. I think that was, like, the best thing to have done for that, because I wasn't having any fun.
No.
My players certainly weren't having fun that, like, actually wanted to play. And when I first did it, though, when I first made the decision, there was a lot of anxiety associated with the decision behind the fact of, like, what if I try harder? What if this is, like, my fault that I've, like, let things get too out of hand, that I'm not a good enough DM to corral and control, like, what's going on and stuff.
Mhm.
And at the time, I looked into advice from other DMs.
Yeah.
So I think I did the best thing for myself in that situation of seeking the advice of fellow DMs, whether or not they were strangers who just, like, wrote advice about these things or talked about it on YouTube, or they were actual friends of mine.
I also felt as well by deleting the group.
Mm-hmm.
So I took away toxicity that could have possibly happened if we invited others.
It's a shame, you know?
Yeah.
And ultimately, you can only ever handle a situation as and when it occurs.
Yeah.
Hindsight's very well and good, obviously after the incident, because, like, then, that's the point of hindsight, is you look back and you judge your previous actions or the things that you said, and you're like, totally could have done this better or different. That's fine, but in the moment, you can only do exactly what comes to you. So, what do we feel as though we've learned from this episode, Navii?
That it's okay to have anxiety.
Yes.
Everyone has it in some shape or way, that it's gonna be okay.
Everyone has to deal with it. Not everyone is vocal about it.
No.
And sometimes the best way of addressing it is to be vocal about it.
Yeah.
I know whenever we've had I want to say a heavy session, or just a session in which I could kind of get a read on my players getting a bit despondent,
Mhm.
I like to reach out as a DM at the end and just go, how did we all find that?
Yeah.
Just like a little prompt at the end of, hey, you can talk to me if something was off, if, like, there was something that I did, there was something that you, like, felt that you did, and we can address that and work with it together. Because I think that D&D and RPGs, it's more than just a collaborative effort to create a story together. It's also a collaborative effort to help each other as people.
Yeah.
And to make each other feel better. It's not the case in all groups. I specifically am talking about groups in which you don't always have the luxury of running a D&D game for your friends.
No.
You end up, like, running a game for randoms and stuff. In which case, that's a completely different kettle of fish, I would say. Because people are usually there to, like, play either a one-shot or just focus on the campaign as, like, a chilled-out way to spend a Saturday afternoon or something. They're not there to deepen meaningful relationships with each other and improve as people.
No.
They're not the ones who are anxious. Unless, you know, they're new to the game.
Yep.
Again, another valid form of anxiety, being the new person.
Hi, me.
You can be the new person and just be anxious about putting yourself into a group that has already been playing for a while, and their campaign is already so far in, and that there's putting yourself in a group in which their campaign is just started, but the people have known each other for quite a while.
Yeah.
I feel as though a new player in a group that has absolutely no ties with one another, so like what I was saying earlier about like DMing for random people, that's usually the best place in which new players flourish and have the most minimal amount of anxiety. Even if you've got veteran players there who know their shit about mechanics and stuff, you kind of like end up looking up to those people as guiding you through things.
Yeah, and if you're a veteran player, how about the new people?
Protect them.
Yeah.
Protect the noobs. Well, I think that's about the end of the episode then. So what do you think? Are we still friends at the end of this?
I don't think I can ever stop being friends with you after 7 years.
Rest assured, listeners, we are still very good friends. Anxiety at the D&D table did not destroy everything.
No, we shall overcome.
I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Dice Scrolls. I've been Maxi.
I'm Navii.
And we hope to see you again. Bye!
Bye!